How do? Lee the tech guy, how we doing, guy? Dude? Geezer? It's going dark. We have a new light, guys, so hopefully you can see me while I'm vlogging. So, young offenders. Young offenders. Yeah. I took you back a few days ago. Talked about some of the lads I met, young offenders. I've had some really nice messages from these guys. I still see them as they were then. You know, they're round about the 40 years old mark. I saw an innocence then in some of these guys. Obviously, some of these guys have gone on to be quite infamous. You know, at that time, who knows? You know, I didn't know what I'd be doing in 20 years. I didn't know where these guys would be. I've just seen a bit on Michael Carroll. Michael Carroll was on B1. You know, quiet lad, smiley, hung about with the playboys. You know, the armed robbers and stuff like that. I was quite shocked to find out, shall we say, how his career progressed. Sorry. Right, let's get into it. Young offenders, first of all. Daz Kenway. Who's Daz Kenway? He left a message after the last young offender video. I knew he was straight away. He was on basic at the time when I was talking about Bailey. He mentioned some of the other lads. Cheeky, young looking chappy he was. Little sticky out ears, you know, a few whiskers on his chin. With some proper attitude. I'm pleased to know that he's moved on, you know, and he's doing well in life. But I remembered him straight away. Somebody else has asked me, you know, not only how do I remember these guys, how do I remember the stories? I don't know. My memory has just gone crazy, particularly this last year. So I'm going to talk about a few guys that were on the wing. The first one I brought up, and again, guys, you know, when I saw these guys, some of them were in for some very serious crimes, including murder. Very sadly, so they're always victims. But I can only tell you how I saw these lads. So, Paul Massey, we had a Paul Massey on B1. I know everyone in Salford knows about Paul Massey, who he was. I don't know whether the rest of you who live elsewhere. He was a well-known figure in the sort of crime community or whatever. And the lad we had in wasn't related, I don't believe. I think he was the boyfriend of Paul Massey's niece or something. Anyway, he was in for a very serious crime. He stabbed someone to death. Always in trouble in Forest Bank, and I would later see him. He came Strangeways. Now, he got a very big sentence, and rightly so. You know, he committed a horrendous crime. He went on most wings in Strangeways. He never settled down. He was still like a young offender, getting in trouble. And he ended up on K-Wing on basic regime. So this is a lad who should be in the dispersal system, long-term prisons. He's got a big sentence. So I remember having a chat with him on the Two's landing on K-Wing. He was on basic, and, you know, it was one of them sort of heart to heart, if you want to call it. And he said, you know, I'm in a bad place. What am I going to do? So I suggested to him, he decided where he wanted to go, what prison, and he decided on Franklin. So I suggested he wrote a letter to the governor. Strange as that may seem, he wrote a letter to the governor of Franklin. Sometime later, he got a move to Franklin. He showed me the letter. I don't know whether he wrote the letter or one of the lads on the wing helped him. We did have lads on the wing, you know, guys. Some really good people who would help people write letters and spent a lot of their time helping people write letters. So in the letter, I told him to put exactly where he was at. which was basic regime on a remand wing in Strangeways. You know, tell him you aren't settled, tell him being troublesome, you've been on all the wings, nobody wants you. Anyway, you got to move. Allocations, which is a department that used to be manned by prison officers. So a prison officer moving people around the country understands that if you put a lad from Manchester in a prison way down south, because there's a place and you have to move someone, then, you know, it's problematic. They don't get to see the family. And it could seen as being, you know, a bit destructive in their prison sentence. So allocations, and the reason I'm telling you this, it always used to be manned by prison officers. Yeah. Later, civilians. Civilians have no idea about prisoners and, you know, areas where you're from, families and stuff like that. And that went to rat shit. However, I remember allocations coming on the wing. He came to me. He got a letter and they were informing him that he would be going to Frankland. So he did that off his own bat after a little chat. Yeah. Another two lads now. Talk about Badger. Badger was his name. Badger and Mitchell. Two Mitchells we had on young offenders. Again, don't ask me how I remember this. One of them we had as a cleaner. 18, you know, gangly, stupid sort of lad in for a note offence. I'd like to think that that lad went on to never come back to prison. But the other one, tall lad, bit of a bully. Him and Badger together. I would later see Mitchell at Strangeways. I saw him a couple of times. When he saw me, cheeky smile. "You all right, Mr. Samworth?" I says, "Yeah, you?" "Yeah." I says, "Hope you're not still bullying." He says, "No, I've grown up a lot since then." So, you know, it's always nice to sort of have these little interactions. Again, dynamic security. But let's get on to Badger. I don't know why he was in Forest Bank as a young offender. He was at Strangeways, armed robberies he was in for. He was doing a big sentence. He was there a good while. He was a cleaner, you know, got his head down, getting on with his jail. Could have been sent to long term, but he kept his head down, you know, and did his sentence at Strangeways. I remember him saying he was going to Cat D. I was a movements officer that day, took him down to reception. So Cat D, for those people who don't know what I'm talking about, Cat A is a high security level in this country. Cat B, like a local prison, you provide places for court. That's people on remand and people coming back from court. Cat C, a little less secure, although a lot of Cat C prisons in the last 10 years have had more security added, fences to take the public further away from exercise yards, etc. And then Cat D is an open prison. You don't escape from open prison, you abscond. Literally, you just get off. You step over a fence, you walk out. So he was going to Cat D. So his sentence plan, Oasis report, had obviously worked. His risk will have lowered. It needs to. You know, if prison works, yeah, his risk should have been lowered. So he's off to Cat D. I remember him going, boom, off he's gone in reception. Very short time later, guys. I don't know how long. Might have been a month. Could have been days, could have been a couple of weeks. It was not a long time. I'm down reception. Who comes through the door? Badger. I looked at him. I know, Mr. Samworth. What have you been up to? Quite often, if you misbehave in Cat D, they will send you back to your local nick. So he come from Strangeways. Get into a fight, they'll send you back. Not so. He got off. Less than 24 hours, he got off from his Cat D establishment. Not only did he get off, he hooked up with some of his mates, 2 or 3 mates, and they did several home invasions. Home invasion, that's a term they use in America. It's where a gang of people will go into a home, rob it, robbery, you know, load the family vehicles, and away you go in the day. It's a serious offence, very serious. So he was in for robberies. He's gone to Cat D. He's got off. He's done home invasions. He's back in Strangeways with another 10 years to do or something similar. Yeah? This is me saying, look, people can't change. This is me saying, that's how it is. So what would he ask? What would he say to me? We've had the conversation. I know why he's back. What did he say? Mr. Samworth, is there any chance I could have my cleaner's job back on K-Wing? Yeah? Do you understand what I'm saying there? Cat D, got off, back with 10 years. Can I have my cleaner's job back on K-Wing? So that's Badger. As far as I know, he'll still be doing his sentence. The other lad, surprisingly enough, his name's just gone out of my head. He's come back, Warren Matthews. This is another story. Again, it's not me saying, look, people can't change. But these victims, yeah. Warren Matthews, when I first come across him, was on my training course at Forest Bank. Early 40s then me. One of the course instructors said, would you like to play a five-a-side game against a prisoners five-a-side team? Outdoor pitch, AstroTurf. Yeah, we'll have a go at that. Like, we were warned that they were a pretty good team. There's a couple of officers who played football, keen footballers who were going to play for us. So we played this game of five-a-side. It was at night, it was under floodlights, and we got the shit kicked out of us. I wouldn't have thought a game of five-a-side would be so hard, but it was. One of their players, star player, Warren Matthews, could have been a professional footballer. He was only young. What he'd done, he'd gone out with his best mate, I believe, one night, and they got drunk, had a fight, punched his best mate. I don't know whether he hit the curb, hit a bar or something like that, but he died. So he was in for manslaughter. As prisoners go, I've got to say the number one model prisoner I have ever come across. Yeah, he was liked by everyone. He was educating himself. He had some sort of job in education, whatever that was. Very trusted. He was the library orderly at Forest Bank. We used to take prisoners to the library at night. You were designated officer. Get this one, Strangeways staff. At Strangeways, all I could move on my own was 8 people. 8 prisoners with a radio, because it was high secure straight. Forest Bank, I might end up taking 25 prisoners from F-Wing to the library, which was a decent walk away, up some steps. So there's me and 25 prisoners in the library. Warren Matthews, he'd book books in and book them out, as it were. I remember being up there with some lads, and that was F-Wing. My last 6 months at Forest Bank were on F-Wing. I knew these lads, and they said, Mr. Samworth, what would you do now if there was a fight? You know, I'd do my best, I said, which I thought was quite a clever answer. He said, what would you do, Mr. Samworth, if we tried to take your keys? I says, well, there's no doubt, is there? There's 25 of you. There's me. If you take me keys, you take me keys. That's how it were, you know. So Warren Matthews, what else did he do? He was also the gym orderly. Any prison, I would think gym orderly is one of the premium jobs. He used to go down the gym, clean the equipment. He trained himself. He'd be in reception. He was everywhere, that lad. Educating himself, you know, well-liked, trusted. Used to let him off the wing in the morning. He'd go to the gym. The kitchens are getting butty packs. We'd always keep a butty pack on the wing. So if you come back, you know, 8:15, everyone else is banged up, and he'd had no dinner or whatever because he's out and about, education, gym, we give him a butty pack. He was the one, guys. He was the one who was going out of prison after doing a 7 for manslaughter or whatever, how many ever years he did. You know, if he received 7, he'll have served 4 or something similar. He was the one who was never coming back, model prisoner who was going to make it in life. So I'm at K-Wing. We had a big lad on the Twos landing. So it gets to talking to this lad. He was quite distraught. His family were getting threatened from within a prison by his co-defendants. That's people who are involved with each other, accused of doing criminality together. So this lad, like I say, was a big lad. He was a fat lad. We had the conversations, and Warren Matthews come up. So apparently, and again, you know, I know these victims, there's always victims out there. Apparently, this lad, the big lad, had been in a car with another lad who owed Warren Matthews and his dad some money. There'd been a phone conversation. I'm just repeating this as the guy told me. There'd been a phone conversation, and this lad, not driving, big lad's driving, said, you need to take me to meet these guys. We need to discuss this money. He was like, no, don't do it. No, we'll be fine. Anyway, he drove him somewhere. Warren Matthews and his dad were there. Warren Matthews walked up to the car and shot him to death with a shotgun. The lad, I believe, who was driving, got off, legged it, ran, fields, away he's gone. Anyway, he was roped into it, the three of them. You know, he drove him there, he lured him there, boom, away it goes. I believe possibly that lad was innocent. I believe in court, Warren Matthews was going to get charged with murder. If he'd have said that the lad who claimed he was an innocent party was innocent, then both that lad and Warren Matthews' dad would have got a lesser sentence. However, he said he was involved, and they all got tried for murder. So possibly that lad, and I did believe he was innocent, you know, took a life sentence on the chin. I did hear some years later that he appealed that and he got a much lesser sentence. So you got Warren Matthews and Badger. You know, some people are in that life. You can give them every opportunity. However, like I said, young Daz Kenway, yeah, cheeky chappy, I hope you're doing well, mate. It's nice to hear that. Few other characters that came to mind. Some of these lads will know them. There was a lad called Lizard. He was a young lad, got a bit of acne, tall, thin kid. He just did kung fu moves all day. You'd be talking to him and he'd lift his leg above his head or do a back kick and stuff like this. He was a strange one. There was a little lad called Cunningham. I've never seen young offenders, all of them, be so frightened of anyone in my life. Cunningham, tiny lad, he was in for arson. When I look back on reflection now, you know, he was not well, he was mentally unwell, there was something wrong there. He possibly, if sort of he didn't go into the sort of mental health cycle, you know, getting locked up, medication, stuff like that, he's possibly one of them who could go on to be a serial killer. But everyone on the wing was shit scared of him. I remember him walking down the wing one day towards the office. He stopped on association, and the lads used to watch him. They're all watching him. Yeah, got a lighter out, so he's looking at the lighter, looking at the flame. One of them says to me, Mr. Samworth, get him off the wing, he's going to burn the wing down. And he bent down and set his tracksuit bottoms on fire. We ended up flattening him and restraining him. He ended up in the block at Forest Bank. Young Barnesy, little lad. I wonder what happened to him. I've heard one of the lads who was a young offender is now an heavyweight boxer. Someone left me a message, you know, maybe fighting for a world title. It's nice that some of these lads have gone on, you know, get away from criminality and things like that. I'm gonna leave it there, guys. As they come into my head, I'm gonna get rid of them. I'm gonna tell you guys about them. But some people can't change. You know, a really good lad that I got on with really well. Not a violent criminal, but a career criminal. Before I left Little Alton, Manchester, to come back to West Yorkshire, I remember having a conversation with him. and going to prison was just part of life. You know, it's like a consequence. Something else has just popped into my head, so I'm going to mention this before I finish. I've seen an article on social media today about prisoners being called residents instead of prisoners. Yeah. I can't believe that there's people out there, there's idiots out there who've got nothing better to do than think up new names for prisons, you know, get away from calling them prisons. A prison is a prison. And if you're in prison, you're either an officer or you're a prisoner. Call them what you like, residents, whatever. Is it going to help them get a job when they leave? No. Yeah? These idiots out there who just, you know, move on, guys. Prison's prison, prisoners are prisoners. The important thing now that everyone's missing, whether you're working in prison or you're getting locked up in prison, it is flat on its arse. Pandemic's going to end, yeah? All your loved ones, yeah, they're not going to be out on exercise every day. They're not going to have a regime. They're not going to be going to work. There's no staff. And the staff they've got are all young, yeah? And that's when it's going to start kicking off, guys, because you've got young staff who don't know how to talk to people. You know, you're going to get people of a certain age and it will kick off royally. All your experience have nearly gone. Another 10 years, there'll be very few experienced staff left. Shitloads of them, I'd love to know the figures, over the last 10 years, will have left ill health, retirement, on the sick, mental health issues. You know, so that's the thing people should be concentrating on. Not calling prisoners residents. That's not going to solve anything, guys. Anyway, Wednesday, 10th of March, 10k subscriber special. Lee, prison officer to bent screw. Thanks for all your support, all your comments. You other YPs, young offenders who've messaged me on the quiet, don't want me to mention names or whatever. I'll finish with this. Sorry, guys, this is how it happens. There's a couple of lads who've left messages. There was a lad on K-Wing. I remember him. I want to remember this incident. He's prompted it. He's told me what the incident is, and I remembered. It weren't an incident. First time inside, K-Wing, his first visit. Anyone will tell you visits are important to people. Yeah. So, you know, I have got that humanity. K-Wing, on the one's landing, there used to be a sterile area as you go off the wing. So visit staff would come on, shout everyone out, collect everyone, count them into the sterile area, search them as they went in the sterile area, get permission to move, and take all the visits off. An officer who shall remain nameless, who he said was horrible, I got on with that officer, but you know, I'd shut the gate, so he's one side, all the other prisoners that side, they've gone to visits. I was down there, this lad was distraught. He was angry and distraught, he was missing his visit. So I went upstairs, got a radio, phoned the visit, said I would bring him one over, and off I went. I took him down. For me, you know, that's my job, to help people and do things for people, yeah? What am I going to do? Stand on K-Wing, 2's landing, or 10 minutes, bit of fresh air, down to visits, steady walk back up. So that's what I did, and he remembered that, and I remember that lad as well. Two other lads, young offenders, one of them was on about me taking him to reception and sorting stuff out. That could be a ball ache as an officer, let me tell you. Depending who was in reception, could be a ball ache. But I took plenty of lads down. Again, you know, I'm on B1, I'm on F1, I'm on K-Wing at Strangeways, I'm on healthcare. What am I going to do? Stay out landing or take somebody to reception, get the property sorted out? Those people who don't understand, prisoners' property, a lot of it is stored and handed in to reception. In order for a prisoner to get that, you'd have to take them to reception. They have a card where all their property is listed. And if he takes some stuff back to the wing, you know, that'll be noted down on that card. Like I said, a lot of it is depended on reception staff. But again, it's part of my job, you know what I mean? But the fact that people see that as sort of acts of kindness or going the extra mile tells you just what that job is and what some of the people like that I used to work with. Always remembering, though, I work with some cracking people. I don't know how long this is. Hope you've enjoyed it. There's going to be more young offender ones, because as they pop into my head, I'm unloading. I'm giving them to you guys, and then away they go. Okay. Thanks for coming. I'll do, guys. So a little bit of bonus footage for Lee to add to today's vlog. Young offenders again. I've woke up thinking about a couple of things. So here you go. First one, first time really. I can remember myself being shocked, or yeah, shocked probably the word for it. So we were taking a young offender, 18, 19, this lad. Had a bit of a deformity, dragged his leg. I'm not sure whether he had polio at birth, but we were taking him on a hospital escort. Stevie! Taking him on a hospital escort to a big hospital in Liverpool. Any of my subscribers in Liverpool or whatever, there's quite a lot of you. You might know this gaff. What I remember first thing in reception was it was a 4-officer escort. That's unusual, that. Usually 2 staff. So if there's 4 staff, you know, this young lad must be a security risk for whatever reason. Anyway, we travelled to Liverpool, which was a decent hike, and we were in this massive hospital. So, protocol, taking a prisoner in. Took a lot of escorts to Hope Hospital, yeah, in Manchester. If I was IC in charge, there'd be me, paperwork, another officer. You go up to the reception like everyone else does, tell them who you were, prisoner would give their details. Usually, they try and put you somewhere, you know, where people won't be staring, out at road. You know, other times you're in the main area. If you've taken him for an X-ray, you'll be sat with the other people. Like, most people would stare at you, i.e. the officers, and not the prisoners. You know, because we're all the bad ones. Anyway, this hospital in Liverpool, the reception was massive. I remember we were stood there, yeah, I'm cuffed to the lad, turns around and look, and there's just rows of seats with people, boom, staring at us. Instantly uncomfortable, and I mean really uncomfortable. Anyway, somebody said something, I don't know what they said. You know, Yorkshire and a Scouser is an interesting conversation if they've got broad accents. Anyway, it started getting a bit hostile. I mean really uncomfortable now. I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, we stood there, and then our senior officer, that's red badge, like I said, private sector, senior officer, first line of promotion, they're a red badge. I'm going to call them a senior officer because that's what they are. Said something, one guy, very vocal, front row, getting very vocal. I did think at one point we were leaving that hospital and he wasn't getting his appointment. Anyway, the senior officer said something, I don't know what he said, but very soon the focus changed from us to this lad, this young offender. At this point, some sort of senior nurse made a really good decision, came from behind the counter, took us down a corridor and put us in a room on his own. Now this lad said something, you know, very sort of off the cuff. I did know him well, he'd been on the wing a long time. He said something like, right lads, this is the point where I'm going to get off. So he's cuffed to me, there's 4 of us, I'm looking at him thinking, what are you on about? Then your head starts going, you know, is someone coming for him? Anyway, he was just being cocky. He had an X-ray. At one point, we had to place him in a closet chain for the X-ray. Hold on, just let me watch the boy. Stevie, this way. Come on. Closet chain. He had an X-ray. You take some clothing off, put a lead vest on him like you do. All this can be a bit difficult when people are in cuffs. Anyway, Stevie. What's this? Oh, he's coming. Sorry about that, guys. Behave yourself, lad. Had his X-ray. Out of the hospital, back home. As it were, to the prison. So this is the first time, as I remember, actually going on a computer and having a look what someone was in for. I was shocked. Young lad, 18, 19. He'd robbed a house, killed a very old person, and then sexually abused them, which is shocking in itself. That's after death. That wasn't the whole of it though. He'd actually revisited that house for, I don't know, a week as the body was undiscovered, and performed sexual acts on that dead person. So, you know, I looked at that, I looked at him and thinking, wow. Anyway, someone found out about that. I don't know how, but he was in the gym one day and someone hit him in the face with a dumbbell. Hospitalised him. Never saw him again. I don't know where they sent him. But obviously he was a bad and a wrong un. Johnny Mad Dog Adair. A lot of people of a certain age will have heard of Johnny Mad Dog Adair. Plenty about him on YouTube. You know, he's done interviews. He's been on James English podcast. Was involved in the troubles, shall we call them, in Ireland. I've never fully understood, you know, what sort of happened in Ireland with the Catholic, the Protestant thing, the areas you could go, the areas you couldn't, and everything else. I'm reading a very good book at the minute though, which I'm going to do a review for you, and maybe one day interview the lad who wrote it. Anyway, Johnny Mad Dog Adair, you can go and look who he is. You know, people of my age will have heard of him. He had his son. He was on A1. He was a sentenced young offender. So I remember meeting him. He had a tattoo on his leg. Union Jack. You know, a couple of guys holding the flag sort of thing. Like some of these images you'll see on the sides of houses in Ireland. I think his uncle was in. I don't know whether that was Mad Dog Adair's brother, maybe. Anyway, the family had moved from Ireland for whatever reason, for the troubles or something. So this lad's ended up in Forest Bank. The family moved to Bolton. I remember something at the time, lads from that area, and people will probably know, something to do with a bomb going off. Whether the family was threatened with a bomb, I don't know. But what I do remember about this lad, so you're growing up, you're Johnny Mad Dog Adair's son, yeah, so I would think straight away you're going to have a target on your back. And you're not the first young offender I come across, but you're going to have a target on your back. What can I say about this lad? This lad definitely was not dragged up. He was a cleaner on A1. Wow, as a cleaner he was amazing, non-stop. Some of these lads can turn a wing, you know, from a clean wing to an absolutely gleaming wing. You know, he'd be doing jobs I've never seen prisoners do in prison so much. People do plenty of painting, but you don't see people wiping down the bars on the walkways and stuff. This lad, super polite, talkative, intelligent young man with a target on his back. I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, he stands out in my mind as you know, he was a model prisoner again. Another lad then comes to mind, Gavin Donald. Gavin Donald saw him as young offender. Gavin Donald was the son of Ian McLeod. Probably go and have a look who Ian McLeod is. He was sort of the main man, one of the big Manchester gangs. As a young offender, Gavin McLeod, you know, talk to him, have a laugh. He explained about his dad, why he was called Gavin Donald, not McDonald, sorry, Gavin Donald. Again, you see a bit of an innocence. I would later see him at Strangeways. A lot of people didn't have good things to say about him. I don't know what happened to these lads, what they got up to when they moved on from young offenders. I would see Gavin Donald at Strangeways a couple of times. Strangeways in particular was not a good place for him. I believe his life was under threat. He weren't comfortable there. I don't know why, like I say. But yet again, another lad, see a bit of innocence, and then it's gone. Growing up, major criminal, another one with target on his back. I will say later on in Strangeways, he'd lost an eye in a shooting. I believe that was another lad who'd been a young offender at the same time, in Forest Bank at the same time. Who obviously tried to kill him. He was in a car, ricochet, lost his eye. Juice. Any young offenders remember this lad, Juice? So again, another lad who was gang affiliated. I got on with him. I got on with all these lads, but I got on with him. I would later meet him, and on reflection, yeah, I was in Sheffield, gone out with some mates, hadn't seen them for a long time. I'm at Strangeways at this time. Hammered, absolutely hammered. Might have been a stag do I was on. Took another lad from Forest Bank, Richie Barfoot, who was another cracking officer. Only 21 when he started, same age as the young offenders. But he got a sense of humour and they liked him. Yeah, that was his skill, his humour. So he ends up getting hammered, making his way down to this club. Bit of a dubious club. Again, I've been out of Sheffield a long time. I don't know the name of this club. If you know the club I'm talking about, drop a comment in the messages. So when we goes to go in this club, yeah, I'm looking at the people who are going in, and I was sort of the wrong colour. It was a predominantly black club. Anyway, I'm hammered. You know what it's like when you're drunk. Who's on the door? Yeah? Bit of a motley crew. One of them says, "You're right, Mr. Samworth." Mr. Samworth? Yeah, looks. Juice. Smiling, laughing, nodding, yes, Mr. Samworth, all this sort of thing. I went in that club. We weren't in long, we were all hammered. Maybe an hour. I remember not feeling uncomfortable, although I should. But I was sort of treated like a bit of, dare I say, VIP guest. Indeed. And finally, somebody mentioned the karaoke. Oh God, here we go. B1, remand young offenders 18 to 21. They've got a karaoke machine. Yeah, they have. Let me explain. PlayStation in prison. Oh, that triggers people, yeah. If I had a prison, if I was a governor or a wing, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, and everyone on that wing had PlayStations, yeah, they were all enhanced prisoners, that would be a great wing and a great prison. Young offenders, yeah, up to no good. A weekend out, full weekend, yeah, they end at Sunday, they'd be ready for killing each other, yeah, lining up to fight each other. So we had a karaoke machine. So I'd get that out for them, yeah. They'd all gather around, they'd be rapping, you know, having a laugh, bit of a good time. And I'm very sad to say, maybe more than once, I actually jumped on that karaoke machine, not and destroyed it, because I'm a big fat heavy bastard. You know, they would badger me, come on Mr. Samworth, so I'd get on, do a bit of yeah, bit of a rhyme, maybe talking about a couple of basics, a couple of lads on the wing, they'd all piss themselves, you know, laughing at me. And you've got to put yourself up there. If you're going to rip the piss out of these lads like I did all the time, then put yourself up there, have a bit of a laugh. Dynamic security. I hope nobody's got any pictures. You know, nobody had any mobile phones at that time secretly filming me, because I'll have looked like a right dick. Anyway guys, early morning, bit of bonus young offender footage. Cheers, thanks for coming. How crazy is this, guys? How do again? So just walking back with Steve. Two names. I was talking about the lad we took to Liverpool Hospital, who was definitely a wrong 'un. His name was Lacey. Just come to me now, and I remember now who did him with a dumbbell. Excuse me. Earlier in the video I talked about two Mitchells, Mitchell and Badger. I'd like to see that Mitchell at Strangeways, asked him about bullying. This is the younger Mitchell, right, thin lad, very effeminate, number one, skinhead, thick black eyebrows and eyelashes a lot of lasses would die to have, yeah. Quite an effeminate looking lad, but it was him who did him in the gym. So Mitchell in the gym, Lacey did him with a dumbbell. Lacey's gone to hospital, I don't know where he's gone then. He's out of the jail, sent him somewhere else. So it's looking like a nice day, guys. It is cold. Hopefully you'll all have the best day possible. Cheers, thanks for coming. Cheers guys.